Now, if you have a small aluminum panel that you want to epoxy coat with a primer, epoxy primer, prior to finishing and painting, and this is an example here. This is a newly manufactured, fabricated fuel filler side, aluminum side for Morris Minor Traveler. And so it's a small piece, and of course I want it to epoxy coat it before using regular primer and then a paint on it. With aluminum, you're going to have to use an etch primer or an epoxy primer, and I like the epoxy. But it's a small little piece. So what might you use? Well, one of the things you can use is this two-part epoxy primer that comes in a rattle can, and you can get it from Eastwood or you can get it from your local automotive paint supply store. And it actually gives you a two-part epoxy primer, but in a little spray can, and it's ideal for a small piece like this where you don't want to get out the gun, have all the hassle with the your compressor and then cleaning the gun and mixing this stuff up. And I found this was ideal for treating small things like this. And it's really easy to use. You can see it's got this little red tab sort of thing at the top. And how you use that is as follows. You remove the tab from the top of the can, place the can upside over, and then you press the tab firmly down here onto the bottom of it. And what you'll hear is you'll hear a release of the activator into the epoxy. Now, before you've done this, you shake the can for about 2 minutes. Once you've done it, you hear that, you can hear it sound coming out. You'll then shake the can for an additional 2 minutes to mix the activator in with the epoxy. And that's all you have to do. And then you've got a two-part epoxy primer that you can put down on aluminum. And this is one, the panel's already been treated and sprayed, came out very nicely. It has a pot life of 2 to 4 days. So you're going to want to use it quickly. You can't put it on the shelf and use it 3 weeks later. It won't work. It's 2 to 4 days of pot life with it. Each one of these cans, they say, will cover about 10 to 16 square feet. I personally find you want to put it on thicker than that. You won't get that kind of coverage out of it. That's my own personal experience with using it on sort of brand new aluminum. But it's one way to handle some of these smaller panels fairly easily and efficiently. Each one of these things is going to cost you about $30 though. So not cheap, but if you forget to have had epoxy primer on a small panel, well, here you go. It's a great solution. Okay, so I've got everything smoothed down, and now I'm going over it with the 320. Give it a little bit of bite, but smooth it out. Smooth out any little imperfections, scratches, and things like that. So then I can go ahead and put the two-part epoxy primer on it. So getting rid of the sheen, getting rid of anything on it, and taking it down just with a 320, so it's still pretty smooth. Okay, so here are all of the newly fabricated aluminum panels for the Morris Minor, and I put a bend into the front ones there. Hopefully it will fit well into the wooden frame. I tried it out on the one end that was constructed. They've all been epoxy coated at this point. So they've been epoxy coated. I would probably flatten them just a tiny amount. And then you could start putting on, let's say, another type of a primer, maybe a two-part urethane or something, and get them ready for painting. They're not really going to need blocking because they're brand new, beautiful, flat panels. If you leave the epoxy primer sit for, more than 5 days or so, you're going to want to then just slightly sand them to open it up again before you put your next coat. If you put your next coat on very quickly after you've done it, and you might want to let it cure for a day or so, you don't really have to do that. But if it's going to sit for a while, you're going to want to rough them up a little bit with some fine sandpaper before you go to the next coat. And that's probably what's going to happen with these, and certainly it's going to need it to be done on the steel pieces, which are already epoxy primered. So we're getting very close to the point where we're going to take the thing down to the paint shop, have the steel pieces blocked, have everything primered, and then paint it in the teal blue. We're really getting there, and these are the nice new aluminum panels for the back. I think they should look very smart. Okay, well, this is a big day for the Morris Minor. It's heading off to the paint shop, and pretty much ready to go. All the smaller panels, the bonnet and everything are already over there. Now we're towing down the tub, and we'll let them work their magic in terms of going ahead and smoothing this body out, and then getting it back to teal blue. I'm going to miss it, but it's going to be gone for quite a while. Yeah, here we are. We got it here at the paint shop, and we're going to disappear for 4 to 6 weeks while they do their magic, blocking it, painting it, color sanding it. So looking forward to it.